Hey everybody, this is Anita. Oops. Oh, there, that's better. That won't let me do it landscape. So I guess I'm online, and I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the Glad game. I don't know how many of you saw the movie Pollyanna years ago or read the book. The book was really good too. And Pollyanna was a little 11-year-old girl that she was orphaned. Both of her parents died, and she went to live with her aunt, her mother's sister. And her mother's sister was a spinster that lived by herself, and she was very strict and straight-laced, and she at first didn't have time for an 11-year-old girl in her life, and thought the whole thing was going to be rather tedious. Well, move this around a little bit. There we go. And but it turns out that the little girl has such a positive attitude about everything that she's just irrepressible. She says that her father taught her this game called the Glad game. And he told her, at one time she wanted a doll, and but instead of a doll, she got a pair of crutches, and she was kind of unhappy about that until her father said that, she says, how can I be glad if I didn't get a doll and I get a pair of crutches? What can I be glad about for that? And he says, well, I'll think about it. What can you be glad about? And she said, well, I think I could be glad that I don't have to use them. And so she learned this Glad game to kind of deal with the things that went wrong in her life. And she started teaching this Glad game to other people. And, there's an old lady who was bedridden and grouchy and fed up with life and tired of living, and she taught the old lady the Glad game. And she taught it to another bitter old man and got him to adopt a little boy, and she taught it to the maid and the guy that works in the yard and everybody, and she started teaching the Glad game to everybody she met. And finally, towards the end, the maid was telling, well, it was after Pollyanna has an accident and she's crippled and paralyzed and can't move, and she's all depressed and everything. And as they're talking, Pollyanna's aunt asked the maid, well, what's this Glad game that she was always talking about? She never taught me about the Glad game. And so the maid told her about Pollyanna's Glad game, and but she had turned everybody's life around and made everyone feel so much better about living just because they practiced this Glad game thing. And I wanted to share with you a couple of quotes from the book. Pollyanna says, there's something about everything that you can be glad about if you keep hunting long enough to find it. And I think that's, we're in a kind of a situation now. There's a lot of people that are unemployed, laid off for a while, don't have money coming in. There's people that are restricted in their movements, you can't get enough toilet paper and all kinds of stuff like that. Things that are kind of vexing in our lives. And I think it would be really good to practice Pollyanna's Glad game. It's something to think about it. And as you're on social media and talking with your friends, of course, we all should be talking to our friends on social media, not face to face right now. So get on social media and practice the Glad game and talk about the things that you can be glad of in the situation that you're in. And I guess one of the things I'm glad about being at home is that I can read books like Pollyanna and enjoy them. And here's another quote that I liked from the book. What men and women need is encouragement. Their natural resisting power should be strengthened, not weakened. Instead of always harping on man's faults, tell him of his virtues. Try to pull him out of his rut of bad habits. Hold him up to his better self, his real self that can dare and do and win out. The influence of beautiful, helpful, hopeful character is contagious and may revolutionize a whole town. People radiate what is in their minds and is in their hearts. If a man feels kindly and obliging, his neighbors will feel that way too before long. But if he scolds and scowls and criticizes his neighbors will return scowl for scowl and add interest. When you look for the bad, expecting it, you will get it. When you know you will find the good, you will get that. And I think that that's absolutely true in life. You always get back what you give out. And so if we're giving out gladness and expecting people to act the best that they are, we'll get that in return. And there's another quote from the book that I like, and it talks about they're talking about doing all kinds of things, your daily tasks. And Pollyanna says, "Oh, of course, I'd be breathing all the time I was doing those things, Aunt Polly, but I wouldn't be living." You breathe all the time you're asleep, but you aren't living. I mean, living, doing the things you want to do, playing outdoors, reading, to myself, of course, climbing hills, talking to Mr. Tom in the garden and Nancy, and finding out about the houses and the people and everything, everywhere, all through the perfectly lovely streets I came through yesterday. That's what I call living, Aunt Polly. Just breathing isn't living. And that's pretty much all I have to say today. Have a great day and play the glad game.